What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr War Games, and today I'm going to bring you a test hand combo video for Marincess. Now obviously Marincess got a lot of new support from the legendary duelist, and in order to do so it's really given the deck a nice little bump in consistency and popularity. So with these test hands, what I want to show you is the consistency of the deck. There's plenty of videos around that show the combos of what this deck can do, but I want to kind of show you and explain to you as we go through the steps why you would make certain plays and why you go down certain routes that you do. With all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Let's start with our opening test hand of 5 being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's pretty good. The best thing about this is we've already opened up our best extender or our best starter with Blue Tang, and we've opened up the Battle Ocean, which means our search is pretty much guaranteed. There's no if, buts, or which way you want to go. The only downside is we will be hurt by a couple of hand traps, but we do also have the ability to play through quite a few hand traps as well, which is really, really important. So we're going to start off with going by Blue Tang. We're going to use the effect here. Now, this is probably the most damaging effect to lose because the Foolish Burial is actually going to give you the ability to constantly keep extending. If you were to lose this, then you have to change up your play a little bit. So rather than going for Blue Slug first, you'd actually go for the Sea Angel. As we were trying to demonstrate its best power or its maximum potential, we're going to go with the fact that this is successfully resolved. Now the best card to send, in my opinion, first off would be the Seahorse, purely because we already have the Springale in our hand. We're going to shuffle this up as well because the Excavation of Blue Tang can be really, really important, and is even better the more pure the deck is because the more success you'll see off the Excavation. So we normally summon Blue Tang, we go chaining 1 Blue Tang, chaining 1 Blue Slug, chaining 2 Blue Tang. So Blue Tang will excavate the top 3 and you get to add an excavated Marincess, I believe it's card. Yeah, so you get to add a excavated Marincess card from your deck to the hand. Now, the rest go back to the deck. We've already conducted our normal summon, and it's a little bit tricky to kind of get this because you need to get this to the graveyard to then have to revive it from the grave. So personally, I'm going to go with Dive because then that means that I can also set myself up for follow-up plays with the Sea Angel. Alternatively as well is instead of going for the dive, you can go Sea Angel to guarantee you the dive as well. But it would mean that you don't get as much follow-up play as well. It's a little bit more tricky. Like, you'd probably then try and find yourself going further out of your way to put the Basilisk to the grave. So it's entirely up to you. Because we've already opened up the Battle Ocean, I suppose the smartest route would be to take the Basilisk, because then what you do is offer the Blue Slug, you add back the Seahorse, you special the Seahorse to the zone Blue Slug points to, and you go into Sea Angel. Now obviously you could cut this step out if you already searched out the dive, but I suppose with the Basilisk you do have follow-up for future turns, so it's probably a little bit better that way. Off of the Sea Angel, of course, you're going to add your Marincess dive. And now, the best thing about this is we can activate the Battle Ocean. And because we've done that, we can actually activate the dive to special summon from the deck. Now, you could special summon out a Basilisk if you wanted to. You can special summon out another level 4 if you wanted to as well, because then that will help you get into your Shark, Toad protected plays. It is entirely up to you on what you want to go for. Personally, I think I'm going to go with a level 4 just to help me get into my Toad protected plays, which will be a little bit better. You can go into the Mandarin, and the Mandarin will give you more extension, but I feel I've pretty much got everything I need. So we're going to special summon out the Basilisk from the deck because we control the Battle Ocean, and then we can trigger the Basilisk's effect. So if it's normal or special, you get special on a Marincess monster from the hand in defense except itself. So that's kind of important as well. So we're going to bring down the Springale. And this is where we're going to attempt to try and protect our plays. Like, we still have combo to go with the Springale afterwards as well. So it does give you a bit of protection. So you'll start off with going Shark. You put the Springale into the graveyard and you'll summon out your Toad. And that just gives you a bit of protection going further forward on this play as well. Then what you want to do here is you want to turn the Marincess, Sea Angel and Blue Slug. And I personally like going into the Splash Mage. Now the Splash Mage can then trigger its effect to bring back any of the monsters in the graveyard. You do get the ability for Springale If you want to, when it's sent to the graveyard as link material for a water monster to give you some excavation. So if you bring her back and use her as link material, you'll get a free excavation as well. So we're going to do exactly that. It's not the end of the world, but if you do get some free Marincess to the graveyard, you're doing well. So we're going to go into Coral. You'll then trigger the effect. You can chain block your Springale if you want to, because you've got the Battle Ocean. So you can go chain link 1, Springale, chain link 2 to re-equip these two. So the Springale will let you excavate top card or send cards from top of the deck equal to the number of Marincess monsters you control. And then if a Marincess card was sent, you inflict 200 damage. So we're going to do exactly that. Here's a Marincess card, so you just basically burn your opponent for 200. You're then going to use the effect of Coral. Now with this one, it just targets a water with 15 or less attack, which is why you go into Splash Mage, because then that gives you instant loop into a Link 4. You are locked into Cyverse with Splash Mage, so keep that in mind. And the other reason of doing this, you'd already used Splash Mage's effect, but the other reason of doing this as well is it gets you into any of the Link 4s should you want to. If you wanted, you haven't got Crystal Heart, which does require 2 water monsters, so it does give you the loop around again. And the reason you would do that is you'd have to link these two into Crystal Heart, and then you have to use the Springale to special summon herself down. You can also use the Shark, actually. So, yeah, the only one you can't get into easily is the Coral Triangle, because annoyingly it requires 2+ Marincess, but that's where the Springale comes in. So we're going to summon down the Springale, we're going to banish our Blue Tang, and the reason we're banishing our Blue Tang is you will actually be able to set up your Bubble Reef for future plays as well. So you then use the Springale plus the Coral, and you're going to go into your Coral Triangle. Off the effect of the enemy, you're going to add back any of your Marincess cards, doesn't really matter which one, because then you're then ultimately going to discard it. Again, you trigger the effect of Battle Ocean and re-equip everything as well. So keep in mind that you're going to be doing that to Link Protect or just Chain Protect as well. So you then use the effect, you discard the card you added back off the Anemone, and you're going to search out your wave. And then this is where it gets even better, because you've pretty much unlocked all of the water stuff that you need. So you can use Shark plus Splash Mage, 2 waters, and go into Crystal Heart. And then you can use Crystal Heart plus the Triangle. And I personally quite like going into Bubble Reef. Your more defensive one is the brand new card of the Argonaut, just because that gives you the ability to special one of the monsters linked to it and then disrupt. But it's entirely up to you which one you want to go for. The Bubble Reef gives you a draw, and if you wanted to activate it this turn, it could also give you the ability to revive from the grave. So entirely up to you which one you want to go for. I'm going to go with Bubble Reef just for that draw. And then, of course, you will trigger the effect of Battle Ocean, and that will let you equip from the graveyard. So the ones you want to equip now, it will be protected under Crystal Heart, and it will let you equip free. So we go with Coral, Anemone, Triangle, gain 600, and then when you link to one of Marincess 2 extra monster zone, equipped up to 3 Marincess. Yeah, so we go 1, 2, and you might as well go Crystal Heart as well. There you go. So you got those 3 there. You can set the wave and the droplet. Sometimes I like to set the wave just in case my opponent is playing around with kaijus, because if they kaiju you, you're pretty much done for, and then go from there. So then you pass during your opponent's standby phase, you get to banish a water monster from the graveyard. You kind of want to make sure you're banishing your Marincess, because you'll be able to trigger the effect or bring it back with the Bubble Reef, and you're going to draw 1 card. So our hand is currently Seahorse plus Pasquillis. We've got a Toad. If you did play the Frog engine, of course, you could start bringing out the frogs, but we don't. And then, of course, you've got your 3 here. So if your opponent activates anything, you can bring out the Coral. And then when Coral goes, you get to add 1 back from the graveyard. You've got a Droplet that has all of these additional targets to send. And, of course, you've got the Marincess Wave, which can then make Bubble Reef completely unaffected should you need to. So that's just obviously one demo hand. It's to get Toad on top of the board. That's where it starts bending the combo from being like a 1 or a 2 card combo to like a 3 card combo. But that's just where you need to adapt, and that's why I play more extenders in the form of the Sea Nettle, and I also play the Abyss Shark for Kraken Control, because Kraken Control can be just as damaging as Toad. Yes, it's not the Omni Negate to protect you from the Biru, but it is a form of turning all your opponent's stuff to waters, which can cause them issues if they're trying to make specific summons. And then off the back of that as well, if you put Gozen Match in the main or the side, that can be very, very damaging for them as well. So after another decent shuffle, we're going to attempt to go first again. You play a lot of stars in this, so you really want to hope. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, well, we got hand traps galore on this one. Still not a major issue, because then what you're going to do here is you're going to be able to loop the seahorse a couple of times, which is great. So you start off by normal summoning the seahorse, you link that off into your blue slug. You obviously use the effect of blue slug to add back the seahorse. Obviously, if this gets DD crowed or stopped, you're in a little bit of trouble. I mean, DD crow's the worst, because if this gets DD crowed, then you can't bring down the spring girl. That's the most damaging. So we add the seahorse, we're going to special summon the seahorse, and then we're going to turn her into Sea Angel. Now the reason we do this is Sea Angel is going to give us the ability to get Marincess Dive. Now, alternatively, if you wanted to, you could go for the field spell, and then you'd be special summoning down the spring girl. You'd still then try and go combo, but you wouldn't be able to get your full protected combo with off of the back with Crystal Heart. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well. You still have plays to make before you even attempt to activate Dive, so you're still in a very good place. Because keep in mind as well, this will only let you revive a non-link Marincess monster from the graveyard. So you kind of want to try and get one to the graveyard, or you want to be able to try and set something else up, which ultimately you're not going to be able to do a huge amount with right now. You are also on the route to this going to lock yourselves into Cyverse. If you don't want to do that, then of course you can link these two into a Crystal Heart. And then what you do is you'd have to special summon down your Spring Girl by banishing one of these. And then you'd bring this back to go into a Coral, and then kind of try and work your way up from there. So it's entirely up to you if you want to go Splash Mage route or Coral route. We'll leave this in the grave for now. We're going to try and go, the fact we don't have the field spell is kind of sucky, because it doesn't give you as much protection as I would personally like. So yeah. Going to Splash Mage effect to bring back the Seahorse. You've then got the ability of the Spring Girl if you want to bring herself down, but ultimately you don't really need it unless you want to try and make the Crystal Heart. And again, without the field spell, you're not going to huge heights. So what we're going to do here is we'll go special and down the Spring Girl, we'll banish one of these. We will turn these two into Coral. You'll get the effect of the Spring Girl to send one. It's not a Marincess card, so you don't sadly get to burn your opponent. You will get the ability of Coral to revive from the graveyard, so that can then bring back the Splash Mage, and then that's how you get into an instant link 4. But we're going to use these two. I've already used the Dive, sorry. There we go, Dive's been used. I'm going to put those into the Coral Triangle. Use the effect of the Coral Anemone to add back Seahorse. You then use Coral Triangle's effect to send the Seahorse to give you the wave. It's a shame this doesn't search you out spells and traps, but you know, it is what it is. That will give you the wave. And then of course using your Splash Mage as your link 1. Put those two together and you go into your Bubble Reef, because obviously Argonaut doesn't have anything to revive from it, and then you're pretty much sitting on 3 hand traps plus a free draw. So we'll shuffle this up. Again, not as great as you would have liked it to be, but it still gives you plays to make. So we shuffle this up. You can set the wave if you want to. You're going to pass the turn. You're going to do standby phase of this one. You're going to banish the Spring Girl, and this will let you draw a random card. Silent Mining. So we've got a Silent Mining follow-up for the next turn. So obviously that wasn't as explosive, but what we had on the field, we've kind of replaced with our hand, which depending on what our opponent is playing, this can be more difficult to deal with, and vice versa. You still have the wave that can then make Bubble Reef unaffected, and keeping in mind as well, Bubble Reef will give you a standby phase draw during your turn as well. So if we were to play through this, let's say we did that and we dropped both of those hand traps, right? So you draw for turn. In the standby phase, you could still then use Bubble Reef's effect. We'll banish Seahorse to draw 1 card, Blue Tang. So then from this point on, you've got, obviously you already had access to a starter, but you've got full starter play there. And then of course you've got your dive play as well. So that will give you the ability to climb back up a link 4 if this gets completely wiped. And you had that even before the draw of Blue Tang. It just means you've got less to have to sacrifice in order to get to that Blue Tang. Now, going second, I get a lot of questions about how this deck operates going second. It is a little bit difficult, and it does require you to be getting into your Droplets or getting into your Nibirus. You can play this deck blind go second if you want to, and that's when you would focus on particular board breakers a little bit more. But the idea behind this is it pretty much auto loses to Barrier Statue if you can't negate it, and then it will auto lose to Scythe if you can't stop it. That is the issue with this deck, is without its extra deck, it has no boss monsters. It goes pretty much nowhere. So with all of that out of the way, let's try going second, being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6th card will be Seahorse. Now, I would like to think that with Nibiru in your opening hand, unless they're playing... unless they are playing something along the lines of branded, you've probably nibbed them. So let's say we've cleared their board, we've given them a token, okay? We'll go with best case scenario on this one. We still have everything everything we need. So we've got access to an additional starter, plus a Foolish Barrel should we want it. For now, we're just going to go Blue Tang Turbo and try and play it out that way. So again, off of the Blue Tang, it depends what you want to add back to your hand. Because we've already got the Seahorse, I'm going to send the Spring Girl because I think it's just such a good card to add back. And then it becomes a free extender anyway. You're then going to turn the Blue Tang into your Blue Slug. Blue Slug will target the Spring Girl to add it back to hand, and the Blue Tang will excavate free. Yeah, that's more like the Blue Tang excavations that we all know. You're then going to special summon down your Seahorse. You're then going to turn the Seahorse into your Sea Angel. But you've already opened up the Battle Ocean, so you get the ability to just search out your dive without an issue. There we go. And then off the back of this as well, you can do even more. So we're going to activate the Ocean. You can then activate the dive, and because you control the Ocean, you get to special summon it from the deck. If you want to go for a Toad, you can go into a Pasquilis. You're going to be well within Toad territory, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. So you can still get Nibiru yourself. So holding back your Spring Girl is probably one of the safer routes to do. But it depends how greedy you want to get to, basically. And what I mean by that is you can ultimately go special summon down the Seahorse rather than the Spring Girl off of this. And then you would still special summon down the Spring Girl. It gets very greedy, but we'll banish the Blue Tang. But this is just to show you its max potential. So of course you're going to go Shark and then Toad before you lock yourself into anything. Let's move all of those out of the way. We'll detach the Spring Girl. And then you're basically just going to continue your plays as normal here. The issue is with this deck is OTK and on a consistent basis can get a little bit tricky. But it's just the way it is, sadly. So you're then going to use that effect. You can bring back Spring Girl. You can bring back, like, you could have done it the other way around as well. Is you could have not banished the Blue Tang. You could have held it back, summoned it back, and held on to the Spring Girl with the Marincess Sea Angel. So entirely up to you. You would then put these two together, and you're going to go into your Coral. Keeping in mind that when you do all of this, you can then start chain blocking with Battle Ocean to give you that little bit more protection as well, which I would always advise you to do. You're then going to use Coral's effect. Now, off of the back of this, we're going to target the Splash. Before we go too far, I would probably then want to use Splash and the Spring Girl. And I would go into your Crystal Heart first. And then what I would do... probably could have done that. Crystal Heart just needs 2 waters. So I'll tell you what, the better way to do it would actually be to use the Shark, because it can't attack this turn. And leave this on the board, because then what you can do is you can use your Coral with your Spring Girl and go into Triangle. You then use Coral's effect. Again, you would chain block all of this, so you'd re-equip Coral, you can re-equip Sea Angel and Blue Slug. And then we'd add back the Spring Girl for a follow-up, or any of the other ones in the graveyard for a follow-up. Discard a card off the Triangle to give you the trap. And then again, the best thing about this is because you control Link 3 or higher, you can activate the trap from the hand. So at this point on, you can basically make it unaffected and protected, even though you're going to do that with Crystal Heart anyway. So you then use Crystal Heart, and this is where it gets even better as well. If you were able to, you could go Bubble Reef and then Bubble Reef into Wonder Heart. But because I'm not playing Access Code, we're going to go into Wonder Heart. Use the effect of Battle Ocean to equip. So we'll equip Triangle, we'll equip Coral, and we will equip... I mean, the strongest one is the blue slug, but we'll probably equip the crystal heart. You then go to the battle phase, and at this point what you get the ability off of is, off of the Wonder Heart, you get the ability to attack, and then you get the ability to summon out your coral, which just gives you an additional attack on the board. It's entirely up to you, it depends on how many monsters they've got. Now obviously if they've only got one Nibiru token, you will need to try and get rid of that, and that's where your other cards would come into play for a bit of board presence, so it really depends. The best thing about this is once per battle during damage calculation, if this card battles a monster, quick effect, you specify one of your Marincess monster cards equipped to this card. Also, this card cannot be destroyed by that battle, and you take no battle damage from that battle. Equip the special monster to this during the end phase. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you get to special summon one link 3 or lower Marincess from the graveyard. So, you bring out the coral. Keep in mind as well that all Marincess monsters you control gain 200 attack, and each gain 600 attack for each equipped. So you would have dropped this down a little bit, but it would still be currently 36. So let's say we take out the Nibiru token. You've then got a 2k clear, you've got a 3k clear, and a 2-2 clear there already. So if you put the Nibiru token in attack and you were able to do damage, that's your game. If not, you still have the ability to go, okay, cool, set this. End phase, this is going to re-equip to the Wonder Heart, and you're passing your turn there. So you've got a Marincess effect, and then of course you've got the totally awesome effect as well. If you didn't feel that you needed to special summon a monster off the back of this, this could very easily be Bubble Reef for draw power. It could also very easily be the Anemone as well for negation power. So it really depends on what you feel your opponent has, how you feel you want to play it out, and kind of work it through there. Again, all comes down to personal preference and the way you want to play it. You can also see that the line of play for this deck is relatively linear, but that's where the extra deck then starts to adapt yourself. You could have, of course, gone into, instead of going to triangle for the trap, you could have gone for coral as well. Where she is. Your marble rock, sorry. And you've still got other ways around, so it's entirely up to you. So we're going to shuffle this out and we're going to do our final test stand go in second, just to kind of see how we can do. But you can see that in all the previous test stands we've been able to get combo. It just comes down to if you're able to protect that combo, or if you're able to break that board. So final shuffle, final cut, and final test stand of 6 being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, well, I mean, the droplet straight away means you can turn off the entire board, you can protect. Now, what I mean by turning off the entire board is, in theory, there's like 3 cards here that I have no issue getting rid of. Like, I don't need the Signet Mining. The Mandarin can go into the graveyard without issue, and the Sea Nettle as well. So let's say we droplet and we do all of this. Boom. If our opponent then hand traps you here, you kind of go, ah, that's a bit annoying, but you still make your plays anyway, because the Sea Nettle will pretty much cover what you need to. Now again, the standard play would be to put Seahorse to the graveyard. Because of the Nettle, I'm actually going to go for the Spring Girl, because again, it gives me level 4 access. Whether that be to go to Kragan, whether that be to go to Shark and Toad, it gives you that option. So you're then going to turn your Blue Tang, and you're going to go into your Blue Slug. Your Blue Slug will then target. I'm going to target the Spring Girl, and then we're going to get the effect of Blue Tang to Excavate. Oh, that's annoying. But it is what it is. So we'll take the Springer, we're going to get the Spring Girl back to the hand anyway, and then I suppose for just general free extension, we'll take the Sleepy Maiden, and the other 2 can go back to deck. So from this one, just to make sure that I can keep my level 4s if I wanted to, like if I desperately want Shark Toad, I would do that now. So you would banish the Blue Tang, you'd summon her down, you'd then use the effect of the Sea Nettle to special this down, then put these together, and you'd go Shark Toad or you'd go Kragan. It really depends on what you want to deal with. Keep in mind we've already dropleted the board, so I suppose the only issue for the Sleeping Maiden is that the Coral needs a level 4 or lower. So that's a little bit... actually, no, it's not that big of an issue. So then what you do here is you can link these 2 together. And you can go into... Oh, it's not Cyverse. That's disappointing. Oh well. Coral? No, I could have done that better. There we go. Figured it out. So you keep your Shark, you keep your Marincess. You still special summon down the Sleeping Maiden. You just have to go the long way around it. So you put these two together, which is 2 Cyberse, go into Splash Mage. Splash Mage's effect will then let you summon back one of the level 4s or lowers, which could be your Mandarin. Keep in mind as well, the Mandarin can come back at another point, but we really just want to... Far right, there we go, so spare there. You then link the Mandarin off into your Sea Angel. Your Sea Angel can then trigger her effect to give you the dive or the field spell, depends what you want. We'll go with the dive. Do you need dive actually? I think the field spell might be better. I think the field spell might actually be better than dive, purely because I've got the Mandarin. If I didn't have the Mandarin, it might have been the other way around, but we'll do it with the field spell and then see where it goes from there. So we'll add the field spell instead. Then what you want to do here is you can then use the Bahamut Shark and the Splash Mage, and we're going to go into Coral. You can then use Coral's effect to target. Obviously, we'd activate the Battle Ocean as well, so you would re-equip. At the moment, you're only re-equipped in Blue Slug. You then use Coral's effect to bring back Splash Mage, keeping in mind that once we've used Splash Mage's effect, we're locked into Cyberse for the rest of the turn, not the current turn. We then have the effect to revive the Mandarin because we control 2. It does need to be 2 Marincess, so yeah, 2 Marincess monsters. Oh, I need to go to a zone it points to, so apologies on that one. We'll leave the Mandarin in the graveyard for now. Still completely fine. You can then... It really depends if you want the trap or not. If you want the trap, then you do this, but you then don't control 2 Marincess for the Mandarin. Do I need the Mandarin? Probably not. Coral Triangle. Coral's effect will add 1 back. So we can add back the Spring Girl. Then discard the Spring Girl to give me the trap. Which gives you protection for the follow-up. But ultimately, if you feel that you can OTK or win that turn, then you don't need to go for the Marincess wave. It's entirely up to you. You can then put these 2 together, and these 2 will go into... Depends if you want to go Marble Rock or not. Marble Rock, Argonaut, Bubble Reef, or Wonder Heart. I mean, they're your 4 options. It's entirely up to you on which one you would want to go for. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be made with Crystal Heart, so it's not going to be an immune towers. But you're basically then going for, right, recycle from the graveyard, which ultimately is just going to be for next turn follow-up anyway. Maximum damage would be through Wonder Heart. Follow-up protection to negate the next turn is your Argonaut. And then just general draw power will be your Bubble Reef. So it is entirely up to you on where you want to go from this one. Personally, if I've got game on board, I'm going Wonder Heart. I've already done Bubble Reef, so I'll tell you what, let's go with Argonaut for this one. So you're Argonaut on this. You then trigger the effect of Battle Ocean to equip it with everything. So you go Coral, Blue Slug, and Anemone. There we go. And then you pretty much go from there. So this will be up by an extra 2k. So this is now 4,300 attack. And the Argonaut has the ability is, while its card is in the extra monster zone, your opponent monsters cannot attack any monsters except this one. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. Target 1 water monster you control on 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. During your opponent's turn, when a spell, trap, or effect is activated on the field, quick effect, you get to special on one of your Marincess monsters equipped to this, and if you do, negate that activated effect. So that's entirely up to you on which way you want to go with this. This is probably the most defensive option. Like I said, this is the most card advantage option. This is the most aggressive option. And then this is the grind, recycle from graveyard option. And that is it. Now, I know this wasn't perfect. This is more so just to kind of show you the basic of what you can do. How I would particularly play certain routes of this deck. And just to give you a lowdown of like consistency of the deck, you could see that in theory, taking it back to its brass bones, you're able to get the 1-card combos off very consistently to get you where you need to go. It's more so which routes you want to take will be the difference between the matchups in whether you win it or lose it, because it then comes down to the choices you make on that one. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Do like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, guys, as absolutely always, stay safe. And of course, happy dueling.